Well, I guess there are good reasons when I say Scream 5 should have been one and done.
Those were up, and they did.
More smarts, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new semi-ranter-ish, because I say semi-rant because there were some bad things and there were some good things, so it's a semi-rant. And not an actual rant. But movie review, some of you can call it. I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a sequel that came out just a year after last year's installments. And this is the 6th installment of this horror franchise. The film I was not too excited for, was pretty iffy on when they announced it. And because it was being rushed a year after last year's came out, which is not really a good sign. And that film is going to be for none other than this weekend's Scream 6, once again directed by Radio Silence. What's this one about? Well, the film continues with the survivors of the latest Ghostface killings from Scream 5, sisters Samantha and Tara Carpenter, and twins Chad and Mindy Meeks, leaving Woodsboro behind and starting a new chapter of their lives in New York City, only to again be plagued by a streak of murders by a new Ghostface killer. So how was this film made? Well, prior to release of Scream 4, series creator Kevin Williamson claimed he'd already mapped out Scream 5 and Scream 6, but wait to see the possible success of 4 before signing on for any more films. Of course, Scream 4 did not perform as well, so I don't think it really martialized at the time. Then in July 2014, Williamson revealed that Scream 4 was intended to kick off a new trilogy of films, but the film never took off in a way they hoped. Williamson even said they would likely not be involved in any further entries, as the series director Wes Craven and his team were done with them. In Williamson's initial pitch, Scream 5 even saw Jill Roberts being stalked by a killer at her college campus, while Scream 6 would feature Gil Weathers as the main character and deal with her relationship with Dewey Riley. Then in January 2022, Nev, David, Matt, and Tyler expressed interest in making feature films in this series. Courtney Cox would later express an interest in a sequel while doing publicity for Shining Vale. A 6th film was officially greenlit on February 3rd, 2022 by Spyglass Media Group. Olpen and Gillette of Radio Silence would return to direct, while James Vanderbilt and Gus Burstig would write the script once again. By the end of the month, Campbell was approached to return for the film. In the following month, Cox received a script and was courted to reprise her role. Also in March 2022, the 6th film's release date was set for March 31st, 2023. By May, plot details emerged, setting the film outside of Woodsboro, and said the film would take place in New York City instead. Then in June, Ortica said the film would feature a more aggressive and violent Ghostface than in previous entries. Then in May 2022, it was announced that Melissa Barrera, Jasmine Savory Brown, Mason Gooding, and Jenna Ortica would also return for the 6th film. Then the following day, it was announced that even Hayden Panettiere would reprise her role as Kirby Reed from the 4th film, for some weird reason. When asked about her involvement in the film, Cox claimed that her contract was not yet completed, but then in June it was announced that Devin Mulroney had joined the cast playing a police officer, and Cox officially confirmed her involvement with the film. Then on June 16, Jack Champion, Leah Liberto, Devin Dakota, and Josh Sorga joined the cast, followed by Henry Casillo on June 23rd. And Samara Weaving and Tony Bravolari were both announced as cast members on July 14th. However, during the time they were planning this, around June 20, on the same month, it was announced that Nev would not be returning as Sydney due to the 6th film because her contract and sound negotiations had stalled with Paramount. And then she expanded on her statement a few weeks later, saying that she could not bear walking on set and feeling undervalued, and that the offer would have been different had she been a man. Even though she wouldn't be in the film, the script even still contains references to the Sydney character and is protective of her. Then in December 2022, Radio Silence commented on her absence, stating that her absence affected the script greatly, and they decided to use the change as an opportunity to focus more on other characters, particularly the 4 young survivors from 5. They even mentioned how much they both loved Campbell and the Sydney character and that she could return in future installments. So after the film was shot and marketed within a year, Scream 6 was released today on the United States on March 10, 2023, and in 3D too by Paramount Pictures. And once again, surprisingly, the film received generally positive reviews from critics. However, not all are positive, because for my reaction, I think this movie is just okay at best, but it's kind of overrated. I mean, yeah, it's still better than Scream 3, but I think this would have to be my second least favorite movie of the series. Heck, I'd even say Scream 4 is better than this movie by a lot. When horror franchises head to New York City, like Jason Takes Manhattan, Gremlins 2, don't bother with either of them. It's basically a sign that the villain has been condemned. Decent scares do some out of 5 boroughs, but those American psychos tend to be less edgy, more neurotic, and urban derived. So, let's start with the good qualities first off. The things I love most about this movie was the intensity and how a bit more serious it actually was. I love horror movies and I love Scream more than anything, but some of the sequels, such as 3 and 4, do get too comedic. This one does up the intensity by a bit. The chase scenes are pretty perfect and the gore's pretty good, I'll give it that. There's no shortage of blood or gore, but overall strong movie that delivered on scares that keep you on the edge of your seat and even a few chuckles. I even thought the New York City aesthetic was a nice touch that added a neat aesthetic to the film. The cast performed well in this movie, and particularly the 4 main characters, denoting themselves as the core 4. Jenna Ortega likely was the standout of the group. Gail also contributed the flow of the narrative in this outing, which was nice because her character was essentially a glorified cameo in the previous film. And part of what makes Scream such a fun, entertaining franchise, especially for horror fans, is its comedic dissection of the rules and roadmaps that the genre clings to. Even Scream 6's change of settings a purposeful homage to the trend of long-running horror franchises, uprooting their cast and moving them to a large city in a later sequel, like Leprechaun 5 takes place in Los Angeles, and Jason Takes a Boat takes place in apparently somehow takes place in Manhattan, even though it really doesn't. And places the unstoppable killer in New York, even though most of it took place on a boat. Scream 6 has even one of the best introductions to the franchise, and I'd say something as it completes with many iconic and nostalgic openings. It immediately catches the audience and blends with the movie's catchphrase, New York, New Rules. And then we are then introduced to past characters such as new suspicious side characters who don't have as strong characterizations as I would have liked them to, but if you are going to this film for its no gore, look no further as it does not disappoint. And the real tension in this film comes from the possibility of losing some legacy characters, like the beloved Kirby, who is back with a vengeance at Gale. Mindy and Chad also appear to find themselves on the chopping block. It seems with Gale particularly traumatic, and she has the epic showdown with the Ghostface. It is much more than the trailer revealed, more gruesome and has the best dialogue lines of the film. Gale, Tara, and Sam even work best when they're together in scenes, and there are some epic moments involving those three. Gale does have a better story arc than Scream 5 here, I'll give it that. And the film does not shy away from gore and violence, as Ghostface proves to be one of the most ruthless killers in the series. And the kills are creative and brutal, keeping us at edge throughout. The film has a lot of humor references to pop culture that lighten the mood without undermining the tension. The film even pays tribute to Wes Craven's legacy by including some nods to his other works. And Ghostface really gets around in New York, and having no problem navigating the NYC subway. What is sure to be an iconic scene, Radio Silence brings to life a subway ride gone wrong. After a series of events, like a few of our characters find themselves squished inside a subway car. It happens to be Halloween, so almost everyone is dressed in an array of costumes, ranging from Ghostface copycats to Jason, Pinhead, and even our beloved Babadook. The setup is genius, but the execution is even more brilliant as Ghostface slowly stalks his prey in broad daylight, surrounded by dozens upon dozens of witnesses who never register the terror that is about to unfold. It's an incredibly tense scene that'll have viewers gripping the arms of the chairs even. And how our plot kind of starts off, while Tara's attending Blackmore College, Samantha holds down 2 jobs, and much to Tara's protestation, keeps a close eye on her younger sister's whereabouts, and while twins Mindy and Chad also return, everyone's dealing with the horrors of the past with a wide range of success. Sam even berates Tara for her avoidance of her emotional trauma, yet she's the one who can't stop shopping for therapists while Tara seems well adjusted, going to parties and flirting with boys in secret. Sam is hooking up with her neighbor Danny and good-naturedly putting up with frequent partying of her new roommates, Quinn. Sam and Tara aren't getting along great, but they have to put aside their squabbles when Detective Wayne Bailey questions them over the news that 2 of their film studies classmates have been found Ghostface masks next to their bodies. Yeah, this is kind of where the film does pretty much start to fall apart with this story, and I'm going to explain things I just felt made this sequel not work for me. Like, Sam has pretty much the emotional range of a baked potato. Mindy's just the most annoying parody of Randy. I cannot stand her in these movies. Chad's just kind of there. And Tara's just fighting her way through the film with the deadest dialogue. The romantic interest was so forced even. There was literally no need whatsoever to include both of the most random and pointless relationships to come from the franchise. Neither furthered the plot in any way or added any quality to the film. And after our opening kill sequence at Bugs Convention suggests a much better movie, this opening scene even has the victim watching Jason Takes Manhattan. Yeah, if you're gonna put a Friday 13th clip in here, go ahead, sure, pick the worst fucking Jason movie for this. Go ahead, great idea. Get that piece of shit out of this movie, please. Scream 6 grows tedious as it attempts to catch us up with returning characters and introduce new ones. Like, here's the thing, the new characters just aren't that interesting. We grew to love Sydney and the original Scream survivors in the original movies, but the characters of this new franchise are merely pale imitators of what came before, and none of them are compelling, not even the Carpenter sisters are compelling. The truth is that Screams just became its own cliche. Whatever felt inventive in 1996 now feels tiresome and predictable. This was a meta franchise before meta that was even a thing in the movies, and now it's just way too clever for its own good, and its exploration of toxic fandom plays now more as exploitation than anything else. And for a film so wholly invested in self-awareness, it's quite stunning how it becomes a straight-up slasher movie. Like, most of the frights come in the form of Ghostface chasing the characters around apartment stores, warehouses. There's no dynamic direction on the part of its filmmakers, and the camera does it exactly as you'd expect it to. And while the opening was creative, it just wasn't that suspenseful and just felt rushed. Not very much cat and mouse and Ghostface, whose voice I think is the true star of the films now, and the whole movie's just so implausible. Never seen so many of the main characters in the movie get repeatedly stabbed so the audience get the feeling of a kill, or for them to be alive again at the end of the movie. Make a decision. Kirby was one of my favorite characters in Scream 4. I did like Kirby in Scream 4. Like, the TikTok, but there was no reason just for her to be back. Like, the reason, how they explain her survival is just stupid. Is like, I did die for 4 minutes, and then I came back. What? That's the reason? That was stupid. Like, and the TikTok looking kid was just overacting, even tried to play crazy, and then it was too much. Jenna Ortega was great, and I did love Travis Celebrity Brown in this movie. And the diversity was, guys, guess kind of cool too, was a little less woke this time. But it's kind of almost obvious how cliche it's becoming. Almost every white person in the movie is just the villain nowadays. Everyone has a boyfriend or girlfriend of color. Like, it's just weird. And also, I wish studios would stop false advertising because there's like no New York in this movie. This movie was filmed in Montreal, Canada. All we got were screenshots of New York in the background. Like, and there's nothing really original too. Just rehashes old movies brought to try and jazz a storyline up. Maybe it's a kind of a really good thing that Nev was not in this one because it just seemed empty. Like, perhaps it was just not based in the same town as the previous movies. Like, same old with even cheesier ending as Scream 4. And the bad guys didn't do anything special here. Just bad guys with extreme anger towards the two main characters. Like, oh my god. Like, guys, you can mention in the live chat or comments like, we never saw Kirby die. We never saw Kirby die. We saw her get stabbed and clearly bleeding to death. Did you never see that scene in 4? Clearly not. And she's even now an FBI agent for some weird reason that I forget, and even took interest in the Ghostface killings. Why would you take interest in the killings of a killer that nearly murdered you 12 years ago? Oh yeah, and Gail's also back in this movie, and while she's thankfully not killed off, neither is Kirby. We even find out about why Cindy's not in this movie scene. Like, we learn her and her family went into hiding after the events of 5. And here's also another set of bad news that will piss you off. You remember at the end of Scream 5 when Gail said she wouldn't write any more books based off the murders? Guess what? Despite promising to write about the 22 Woodsboro murders, no. She broke that promise and wrote another book, pretty much ruining her relationship with the Carpenter sisters. So yeah, this movie just ruins Gail for me, and it just made her an unlikable hypocrite. I thought we were going to write a tribute to Dewey. Guess not. I guess that... She was probably like, guess that loser means nothing. And one last spoiler. You want to know who the killer is in this one? Okay. This is going to be spoilers in 3, 2, 1, go. So there's this character named Detective Bailey who's investigating the murders throughout the film, And he does get late, and he does help the Carpenter sisters throughout the film and near the end. And we do find out Kirby, and he claims that Kirby was actually fired from the FBI months before his film. And then both of them arrived during the time when Sam and Tar get locked in the cinema that has all the Ghostface outfits, which was pretty cool. And after seeing yet another Billy vision, Billy then just shoots Kirby, revealing himself as Ghostface, and even admitted to orchestrating the killings with two of his children. One of them even looks like this Ben Platt look-alike, who's often treated as a loser throughout the movie, I'll give it that. And they want to avenge the death of his eldest son, Richie. Like, and his children are revealed to be Ethan, and of course they are. Like, one of them even had their death faked to throw off suspicion. I think it was one of this really stupid idiot's death where she just scared like pussily holds on to the ladder that she's supposed to climb across because she's so scared to climb and just stupidly gets killed. Like, some characters were even stupid in this movie. And then Sam and Tara even fight Bailey family off. Then Tara stabbing Ethan and Sam shooting Quinn. Sam then dons her father's Ghostface costume and calls Bailey using the Ghostface voice to taunt him, then repeatedly stabs him. Now it just kind of feels like they're trying to turn Ghostface into a Michael Myers into a Marvel movie. The serious tone of the first two Scream movies is just lost here. Like, instead of the surviving characters would be decapitated and throw up and blown up, and by Scream 8, their body parts would be running in excitement that they made it through another sequel. Yeah, guys, I can predict they'll make a 7 and 8. Because I can already tell this movie's going to make a lot of success at the box office. There's not even enough scary moments, too. There was, I guess, the subway scene was cool. The opening was pretty good. And the ending was just, third act was just bad. Gil's chase scene was the highlight as well. Very tense, but her character development was just ruined here. Because now she's a hypocrite. And I guess if Sydney was in this, she'd probably get butchered as well. And seriously, like, even one of the reveals was even predictable because one of the sidekicks gets treated like a loser throughout the movie. So it was predictable. So yeah, like, some good qualities, and while not as bad as Scream 3, and honestly it wasn't memorable, the Carpenter sisters just don't work as a trilogy of characters and just aren't memorable like Sydney, Dewey, or Gale. While this movie did ruin Gale, bring back Gale, it ruined Gale by making her a hypocrite now. And also, this movie did get released in 3D. The point is, this movie just did not need to be in 3D, because there isn't really anything groundbreaking in 3D here. You could have just made this 2D and it would change nothing. And that final twist just even rehashes Scream 2. So if you've seen Scream 2, you've seen Scream 6. Final battle in the theater? No way. Ghostface is the parent of the previous film's Ghostface. Shocking. Core character stabbed repeatedly, presumed dead, and revealed alive on a stretcher by someone yelling to someone along the lines of, "Oh, we got a live one?" Revolutionary. But at least they didn't kill off the legacy characters in this one, unlike with Dewey and 5. Nev's absence was deeply felt. It's not a Scream movie without Sidney Prescott. Gail felt severely out of place without Dewey or Sidney by her side, and her storyline just felt forced. And Kirby should have been utilized more. Just truly a waste of Harry and Samara Dermot's talents. So, in the end, I would just highly recommend waiting for this to hit streaming because it's just not very needed or memorable in my opinion. And I would just prefer it if Scream 5 was a one and done sequel and that was it. This is proof this fifth movie should not be a trilogy. Anyway, that's it for my review of Scream 6. I'm wondering how I'm going to rank Scream 6. Here's how I'm going to rank this movie.
So overall, if you are interested in a 6th Ghostface outing, then sorry, but I would wait for this to hit Paramount Plus because it's just not worth the theater admission to me at all. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Scream 6, I'm going to give Scream 6 a 5.5 out of 10.
There we go. That pretty much wraps up my review for Scream 6. And, well, this is just the beginning of March. Maybe it'll start off bad and end good. Okay? Maybe. I mean, it's not as bad as February so far. Okay? But until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Or semi-rant. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more. And don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.